Good morning, everybody. Welcome to London Station. Discovery Core today. We're looking at the Sage engine. Sage engine feels redundant because the E is for engine. Sage system, Sage rule set, Sage. Hope you're all doing well. It's a Saturday. We used to do Astro Prisma on Saturdays, but Astro Prisma ended, even though I need to cap it with a nice epilogue. And last Saturday, we played No Man's Sky with Cheeky and Zach. And this Saturday, I guess the RPGs are slipping into the Saturday slot. But we had the idea to look at the Sage rule set itself behind Wardens of the Blue Rose, which we looked at last Sunday. So we're going to see what the base engine is. This was released by Green Ronin in a magazine they do, the Engine magazine, I believe it's called. And issue number 3 was like a double-sized issue. I put all the links and everything in the thing. Also, my stuff needs to refresh. Why haven't you refreshed? Bear with me 1 second there. Oh, you know what else I didn't set up? I did not set up the little chat highlight thing. So let's refresh that, and we'll grab this. If I can, from here. I've never tried it from the studio window before, so we're going to see how this works. Anyway, one of these days I should probably start, like, introducing myself when I start streams. But I don't know what to say about myself. My name is London. I'm a trans woman. That's been a very positive experience for me. It's been good. And I don't know what else to say. Someday I'll figure it out. I have a great intro for London Hour streams because I rehearsed it for months, but I don't know. I never came up with one for Discovery Core or the simulator. That's all right. In any case, we're going to switch over to another screen. Hey, Thaddeus, welcome in. Glad to have you. We're going to switch on over, and we're going to look at Sage itself. And then in this magazine, they also had 4 contributing artists write like little settings for Sage, which we probably will not look at in detail because this is a for-purchase product. A lot of what I've done on the channel so far has been like quick starts and things that come along with products being backed or crowdfunded. And so I have no compunctions about showing the full thing, but I don't want to show a full product that's out there for sale. So it is on DriveThruRPG, this particular issue. I haven't looked into the other issues because I'm sure they tie into a lot of Age things that I'm not actively using. So, but this one is all about Sage. We've got 4 settings to look at, so we'll probably quickly skim through those. And you know, it's me. We go slow. But this is probably not going to have a bunch of like the little setting stuff that I was going to say trips me up, but it doesn't trip me up. I just submerge myself in it. So we might go through it pretty quickly, and if we do so, we will go back to, my brain just turned off. We'll go back to Blue Rose, 2nd edition, which uses Age, and we'll start looking at like setting things and stuff like that. Partly because, in addition to just launching Wardens of the Blue Rose, and they've got this Sage issue that came out in, I think it was August or October of last year, something like that. In addition to that, they also just put out a warehouse clearance sale. So I put that link in the thing too. At least I think I did. I tried to. And like some of the Blue Rose books are like $12. Like they're all $12. There's like 5 books in there. They're like $12 a piece. So if you have any passing interest in Blue Rose, I've got some books on the way. I can put them on the shelf. So that'll be fun. Hi, D Priest. How are you? Thaddeus has got to go work, and then he will be back. Well, we will be here for at least somewhat 2 hours or so. We'll see how my stamina is on streaming today. And then I gotta go to the second job this evening. Boo. The crowd all boos. You can boo in chat if it makes you feel better. All right. Let's see. I gotta get all these distractions off my windows. Because, yeah, I hit snooze a couple times this morning. I could have been a little more prepared, but I need my beauty sleep. Okay? I need my beauty sleep. All right. It is bookmarked. That gets a bonus from me. I'll get it up on screen in just 1 second. 1 second. And probably isn't turned on, so we'll turn that on, turn that off, and pa-ta. There we go. Engine. Number 3, the Age Role-Playing Game Magazine by Green Ronin. Again, this is for purchase, so I am going to try not to, like, read every word out of respect for the commerce and the support. So these are all the key arts for these settings that are included in here. And I put those in my thumbnail as well. Pretty sweet looking. This one looks really cool on the bottom right. Where's my cursor on the screen? Why isn't it capturing my cursor? Oh, it is. There we go. Okay, moving on. In this special double-sized issue of Engine magazine, we present the simple adventure game engine, Sage, complete in this issue with all the rules you need to play. Use Sage as an introduction or alternative to standard adventure game engine RPGs, such as Fantasy Age or Cthulhu Awakens. Or use it by itself for character-driven tales of dramatic adventure. This issue gives you everything you need to get started. They've got the rules. They've got these settings. So Guardians of the Key, a cinematic sci-fi setting. Fun. The Half Moon Department, agents who transcend the realms of mortal shades and spirits. So that's your, I don't even know what to call it because it's too early in the morning. Thank you for the boo. Boo's in the chat for the second job. Zarat Adventures, a volcano-scarred land where heroes win no crowns and honor is the only currency. Ooh. And Transmigration, where an ecological apocalypse provides a strange form of liberation. Notes on how to convert between Sage rules and the standard adventure game engine games. All you need is this issue, 3 6-sided dice, things to write with, and people to play with. Explore Sage. That is worth saying that this is like a magazine, but this was like they put the full rule set here. So it's I think it's a 16-page rule set, and it's fully playable. So low investment for getting a super abbreviated version of Sage. If that's super abbreviated version of Age, which is Sage. We'll get it figured out. Don't worry about it. I don't know why I didn't realize they were in Seattle. If only I had gotten more into this channel stuff when I still lived in Seattle, but no, I don't any longer. Here's your credits. Malcolm Shepard he's in the credits for Wardens of the Blue Rose in a strong capacity, I believe, writing credit, whatever. Editor as well. Some of these other names, I know I've seen Monty Lin before. I don't know where. Steve Kenson had the original idea for Sage, is my understanding. We're going to read about that. Yeah, the art in here looks great, I gotta say. For a little magazine, it's pretty cool. And there's the team. So, great. What else do we need to know? Sage designed by Steve Kenson. Yep, with Malcolm Shepard. There you go. And scrolling. We're scrolling, and we're scrolling. Sage's Gather, simple adventure game engine, and then by page 16 already, we're into the settings. So it's okay. I knew what it was for. At least I could remember. Are we lagging again today? My little bars are green, so hopefully not too bad. That's hilarious. At least I knew what that callback was for, unlike everything else where I can't remember what I said in the last minute. The Sages Gather. This special double-sized issue of Engine represents a departure for the magazine, for the Age system, maybe even for Green Ronin Publishing, though we've seen echoes of it before. So let's get to the point. This issue contains a full, light role-playing game and 4 ways to play it. Sage stands for the Simple Adventure Game Engine. Over in Development Land, we regularly play with different rules variations and concepts. One thing we've been talking about for years is how to modulate Age for different levels of mechanical complexity. At its base, the Age system is very simple, but that simplicity invites, even tempts, expansion. In various games, we've played with this potential, from the cornucopia of stunts in Modern Age to the sinister challenge test to use Eldritch workings in Cthulhu Awakens, and in fact, challenge tests themselves are an expansion, first known as breaching tests when they were introduced in Modern Age. This kind of expansion is fun, lets us tailor the system for many things, and is a house ruler's dream, but it adds complexity. What if we were to go in the opposite direction and see what we could cut down? So that's what Steve Kenson did. The first iteration of the simple adventure game engine was even lighter than what you see in this issue, and in my tweaks to it, I may have added bulk. But game systems also need mechanics you can anchor ideas to, and I think adding a smidge more made this easier. From here, the question became, okay, so what do we do with it? This is what we do, to start. This issue begins with the core rules for Sage, the simple adventure game engine. You need this, dice, people, the usual stuff, but nothing more to play. We definitely assume you know what role-playing games are, but why wouldn't we? It's an issue of engine, after all. After that, we explore 4 game settings, perhaps Sage implementations. Ooh, playtesting some marketing there, I like it. Each from the mind of a different author. In Monty Lin's Guardians of the Key, incredible technology and individuals chosen to use it because of their virtues might free a desperate soul system from tyranny, but those same tyrants have plans for the other worlds of the galaxy. In Catherine Shuttler's Half Moon Department, investigators who defy the classifications imposed upon natural and supernatural beings, solve problems created by the permeable boundaries between mortals, spirits, and the dead. I'm reading these in full because if they're interesting to you, then you should buy it. That's why. Colm Lundberg's Zarat Adventures introduces you to social fantasy in a volcano-dotted desert realm that's both lawless and orderly, against a colonial conspiracy that threatens the land itself. I'm interested how they do this. That seems fun. Finally, in I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry, because I've seen this pronounced Sean, but it could be Xian. I don't know. Anyway, Ingram's transmigration and ecological disaster grows into an ambiguous apocalypse where humanity's inheritors come not from a protected elite, but from the people their homophobia and transphobia left to fend for themselves, as new life overwrites old. Very interesting. Did not see the queer angle come in there. Cool. Very, very cool. I did just go through this really quick, but they're like, hey, if you've got submissions for things and stuff, send them in for the magazine, not for Sage necessarily, but yeah. Very cool. Onward. All right. Sage is a compact tabletop role-playing game based on the adventure game engine as used in Fantasy Age, Cthulhu Awakens, The Expanse, and other games. Sage is designed to include more player and GM moderated decisions, and the mechanics leave more room for you to describe the details of events. This issue's settings expand, modify, and otherwise play around with these rules, and we encourage you to do the same. Like many RPGs, one of the players takes the role of game master, no fancy name here, to help present and guide the story, portraying various non-player characters, while the other players interact with the story through their player characters. You can refer to any of these roles with a specific role depending on the context. Sage relies on creative, subjective judgments about what features, such as abilities and bonds, key game traits mean. The game also has a number of abstract features that require you to apply imagination, common sense, and a commitment to helping everyone enjoy themselves. The GM is the final arbiter when confusion arises, but everyone should act in good faith, and the GM should respect the playgroup's consensus. This is not a tactical or highly technical game. It's about the spirit of the thing. Important text there. But I think anybody that's going to find themselves drawn to Age in the first place and then find themselves here looking at Sage is probably already of the understanding that, it's not crunchy, technical, tactical, It's not that kind of game. So, it's always good to see it stated, though. I appreciate it. All right. Now, let me just flip through. I want to see what we're looking at here. So, we've got making a character, doing things, stunts, conflict, equipment, and other enhancements, using bonds, and character development. And that might be all we look at. And that's going to be just fine. Making a character. Now, when we looked at Wardens last week, Wardens had a quick start, and so it just gave you the pre-generated characters. And we did not see how abilities were chosen or selected, and for what it's worth, the methods used in Wardens of the Blue Rose might be different than what we're about to see here anyway. But it should give us some insight into, if you were here with us, recall that the abilities, I was very interested to see how they were generated, because they seemed kind of like... what's the word I want to use? I don't know what word I want to use. Sorry, I keep bumping my camera too. That they weren't prescribed. They weren't prescribed abilities. It was like every ability was a custom ability. Like stat. Other games would call it a statistic, ability scores. But it seemed like every single one was unique to the character themselves. So we'll see if that holds here with Sage. That's where I was getting elements of... Legend in the Mist and the Mist engine at Broadly, where everything is just theme tags, theme cards, that sort of thing. So you create, the words are the abilities. And that seems like something that they've kind of gone for here. And maybe even that shows up in other Age games that I'm just less familiar with. So, I only know what I know. Ignorance is on full display for your viewing pleasure. To create your Sage character, proceed through the following steps. Step 1, choose abilities. Here we go. Your abilities vary depending on the setting, including the world it takes place in, its genre, and any special circumstances in play, from the supernatural to the presence of technology. You use abilities to understand a character's strengths and weaknesses and use them to modify dice rolls as described in Doing Things. Abilities can be defined by the GM, be selected in a freeform fashion, or both. The players and GM might decide on a set of common abilities, but they can add new ones when required. Whether defining them ahead of time or on the fly, avoid making abilities too broad or too narrow. Don't make conflict an ability, but don't make Beretta 1911 one either. So it is completely open-ended. So the GM could come to Sage in a way that you would come to Fate and relook at the skill lists and the skill pyramid and what you want to have available to people. In that same way, you can do that here as the GM or as a group or selected freeform. So yeah, it is freeform, and it is this style of not too broad, not too narrow. This is language that you see in the Myst engine. In fact, there are penalties, kind of. If you have a tag in Legend in the Mist that's too broad, like if, let's say, for example, you did have conflict, which even that's too broad to be permissible, frankly. But if you said like fighting or whatever, if you wanted to use that in Legend in the Mist and it was that broad, you would need to use it as a setup action first. So you're paying in action economy, kind of, even though it is a not popcorn, but a spotlight initiative system, if that. So, similar trends here. Examples. In a classic fantasy world, one ability might be swordplay, another guile, and a third sorcery. In a cyberpunk game, hacking and media might be abilities. So this is interesting, because this lighter rule set is kind of putting you as a GM, if you take it on in this way, into the role of designer. I think that, and I've used this story before, I think one of the most fascinating game design videos I ever watched was by Jason Bullman, who was with Paizo and has worked on all the Pathfinder games, and Starfinder as well. But I mean, it's a big house, so I'm not sure if he's particularly worked on Starfinder. Anyway, he made a hack, a simplified, right, just like they're doing here. He made a slightly simplified hack of Pathfinder 2nd Edition into a zombie survival game, and it was called Hope Finder. And there was a online convention. I think this was still in decent COVID times. I say decent, meaning it was still ongoing, not that it was ever decent, but he did like an hour-long talk about hacking games, and one of my biggest takeaways from that like presentation, lecture, whatever it was, he was talking about in traditional games where you have ability scores and you have skills and you have feats and you have class features, and he was saying each of those actually touches the setting of the world differently. And so his point was, when he looks at it, he looks at skill lists as these are things that anybody in this setting could reasonably do. Anybody could reasonably improve at these things. Whereas class features and feats, they go narrower and narrower into these are for the special people in the setting. These are for the player characters. And so when I see design around what abilities you want to have in there, and I think about Powered by the Apocalypse games that are very tightly interwoven to their themes, and the abilities say so much. Like the ability list, if you want to call them that, action roll list in Girl by Moonlight is things like empathize. Well, let me just read them because they're right here in the back. They're right here in the back. Analyze, which is, that's RPG-ish. You can analyze things, that's fine. Conceal, pretty straightforward RPG-ish. Confess, though, as a main action, confess. This is where people who initially look at a game like Girl by Moonlight are like, what? How am I supposed to be effective with a confess ability roll? It's like, you got to be a little clever and creative. Defy, that's pretty straightforward. But empathize, express, forgive is like that's the big magical girl one in here. The forgive ability. How do you use forgive? How do you punch somebody with forgive? It's actually a fun thought exercise to go through. So, all of that to say that if you're in this seat of using a generic system that you're going to then apply towards a setting of your choosing or use elsewhere, and hopefully we're going to see this, there is a lot of consideration you want to put into like what are you trying to spotlight when you say these abilities are the abilities, because they're telling your players and they're telling you what the interactivity points are with the rule set. You are literally laying out the track in front of the train as far as when are dice going to get rolled. When are the mechanics going to come into play? When do we want to leave this to chance? When do we want to leave this to be decided by, chance, you know? So it's a very brief intro on like making these, but it's really kind of important. And can you really do it so wrong that you break a game and don't have fun? Probably not. But like this is an element where you can really excel if you nail it. I like that distinction between skills and feats. I see the same approach in Earth Dawn. Yeah, I mean, you know, games have absorbed, I think, some of this procedure just by osmosis from other games. Like there are skills and there are feats, and so my game also has skills and feats. But that was the first time I'd ever heard somebody break down and say, what you put in the list of skills is actually kind of world building in that way, because you're saying anybody, if you hold to this tenet, which not everybody, I've shared how much I liked that talk in other conversation circles, and some people are just like, I disagree, and yada yada. It's like, okay, well, if you agree with that tenet, then it's really fascinating in that it gives you this subtle but pervasive world building lever, when you create it at the outset. And when I was looking at, I did a stream on the Lambda Act, which is my hack project, potentially, of M-Space, which is a hack of a hack of a hack of a hack. Anyway, it goes down the line. But I've spent quite a lot of time envisioning, like, it's not just about mechanically what do you want to see, but it's also about what does that say about the world. And that's, that is a very skill-based system. So it says a lot about the world, what goes into the skill list and what doesn't. In fact, there aren't really that many class abilities at all. It's a classless game, so it's kind of a different animal altogether. Anyway. Classic abilities and focuses versus Sage abilities. So this is conversion stuff. For those familiar with Classic Age abilities, in Sage includes areas that might be covered... Oh, sorry, I put the comment in the wrong place. For those familiar with Classic Age, abilities in Sage include areas that might be covered by one or more focuses. Sage doesn't have focuses, as well as areas that could belong to multiple abilities from the standard set of 9 in games like Fantasy Age. My brain's not processing this. Abilities include areas that could be covered by focuses, right? As well as areas that could belong to multiple abilities. Sure. I mean, yeah. It's pretty freeform, so that tracks. The focuses are it's how Age gets around having skill lists. Is you have the ability and then you can have a focus in parentheses, and if it applies, you get a +2. So it's like a skill. In some ways, focuses are like skills, but in the way that like you only have the ones that actually matter. You don't have to juggle the list of 35 of them. I think Pathfinder First Edition had 35. Pathfinder 2 went down to 17, which is a good number actually. I feel pretty good with that number. But anyway, assigning ability ratings. Among the abilities you create or select, assign the following scores. So this is our array. One ability is a score of 4. 2 abilities is a score of 2. 1 ability has a score of -2. Difficult for you to employ. So this is like your weakness tag, because you're not going to try to use this, but the GM is probably going to be watching and be like, hey, this applies to your the thing you suck at, doesn't it? And then you'd be like, yeah, it does. Any ability that isn't otherwise defined for you is 0 average. This is what we saw in Wardens, and when we looked at the character sheets in Wardens, we noticed a pattern that there was 4, 2, 2, -2. There were 4 abilities, but not every character sheet had that. Some of them only had a 4, a 2, and a -2, I believe. So I was interested to see, is there some sort of process where you trade these out? Like you have this array, but you can swap building blocks out of the array for other things. Not sure. We'll see. The meaning of ability ratings is listed on the ability ratings table. So this is just a gradient here, and they're telling you like what that looks like. So poor, a character who can't carry a tune while entertaining. Good, the work of somebody fully qualified in something. Extraordinary, city's foremost expert in dueling. So, games have these are skill levels, kind of, but for us here, they're also abilities, and there's no focuses, so it's like an all-in-one. It's a way of the game system, and I'm just going off the top here, it's the way of the game system just saying, listen, you tell me what is special about your character, and we will give you a bonus to things that are special about you. And everything else, you roll with a 0, and you're going to be fine. Because you can spend fortune. That's the other thing. Yes. That's what allows them to do. Okay. That's what keeps this from breaking down. I just got even more excited about fortune. Oh my God. The way they did fortune is so brilliant. I really love it. Because your average result on 3d6 is 10.5. And the average target number for average difficulty in age, blue rose, whatever, is 11. So let's round up the 10.5 and say on average you're hitting 11 and the average difficulty is 11, which means you're as likely to succeed as something as you are not, because you are average. You're not trained in it. So this is also how math communicates setting as well. Because you can start with a premise of like, and a lot of games are like this, they kind of have like your average untrained success at something is, in a lot of RPGs, believe it or not, it crunches down to like 60%. And so when you know that as a player and you look at your odds or something, if you say like, oh, I've got a 60% chance of success, you might say like, well, that doesn't feel very high. I don't feel very good about that. But you might also be like, actually, that's perfectly average. And that's about your average success rate on hitting or your spell save going off or whatever. And then, you can ramp that up to the 70s and 80s, and that's when you're very proficient in something. Very few times when you have a game that's balanced anyway will it let you get to that 100% success rate, because then the game disappears into the build that you made, right? There's no more game left to be played. If by game you mean disclaiming results to dice and random generators, which, I think a lot of people do. So there you go. In any case, because of the way fortune works and the fact that you can alter your die results on any roll, you have to pay for it, but any roll you want, you can alter your die results. That means that you're going to be good at 3 things. You're going to be bad at 1 thing. And everything else you can possibly think of, you're going to be hitting that 50-50. And then you pay with your fortune, which is your in Wardens of the Blue Rose anyway. When you're talking about the romantic fantasy fictional genre, you are paying with your narrative currency, like the degree to which I, as the player sitting outside of this story, am putting points into making sure that this thing happens. And it comes at a cost, both in and out of the story. Well, actually, just in the story. I don't think it comes at a cost out of the story. That sounded kind of dark when I said it. Anyway, moving on. Step 2, choose bonds. You possess 3 bonds. These are beliefs, people, ideas, skills, and other things that inspire your special dedication and commitment. So they are not all relationships. They are not even necessarily any of them romantic relationships. I know this is just generic Sage, but I'm saying it because we all know. We all know which game we're really here for at London Station. It's Blue Rose. For now. Each bond is a sentence or phrase describing who or what you're connected to this way and how, such as, I'll do anything to defeat the Empire, I am my father's child, Sean, another PC, is my essential companion, or I learned the way of the sword from Marazzo himself. So the bond is a sentence or phrase. And this goes into that tradition, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's been around for a while. Games that try to give mechanics through words and not numbers when they can. Now, does this have a numerical benefit? Yes, we'll get to that. But it's fun. Bonds aren't always positive associations. Merciless hatred can produce a bond just as much as true love. Don't worry about bonds losing relevance, as you may change them if this happens. Now, every time bonds come up, I talk about a couple games that have different styles of this. Girl by Moonlight doesn't really have bonds, but it does have a link mechanic that you're expected to cycle through in the play cycle. So as you go into your downtime, you're expected to spend time with and build relationships, and you get like these links. And the links are a resource you spend to prevent harm or to boost somebody's thing or whatever in the mission. And then they reset, and you do it again. So the bond, the relationship itself, comes out diegetically through role-playing out the scenes where you get the links in the first place. And people could just blow by that. They could just be like, I ask your character to go to the mall with me and we go shop. And they go, great. Did you enjoy the ability? Yes. Then you take an extra die on your roll. You roll the dice, it tells you how many links you get. You can do it that way. But it's Girl by Moonlight, so like, what are you doing playing that game? If you don't want to roleplay the shopping scene, what are we doing here? Fabula Ultima has bonds, and they are written this way, such as I remember when I was reading the rules long ago. But on the character sheet, they're just boxes you tick, and I think that may contribute to them just kind of being reduced in play and just kind of reductive and kind of like another button you press for a bonus. That's a theory I have. So I would probably encourage in Fabula Ultima to also do this thing here. Write a sentence or phrase describing it, because it's going to give you context and unexpected things that push or pull you in different ways. And I don't remember how or when or if you issue Fabula points. But if you can do it by like living through your bonds, then I think that would be a good way to go if you want to encourage that sort of play. But yeah, passions are another take on bonds that show up in games like your Pendragons and a lot of your BRP derived games, your Rune quests. I think even M-Space carried over passions, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they called them passions, but they are elements that when your character invokes them, you get a bonus if it's relevant. They are kind of clocks as well, because they can go up and down, and so they indicate the health of a relationship. I mean, I guess a clock implies a thing that can be finished or filled, so in that way they're not clocks, but they're trackers in that way. So anyway, bonds, cool, we like them. Bond ratings, they go up to 5, wow. I think it's going to tell us what the numbers mean, though. Hold on. Bonds should be narrower in scope than abilities. Possible bonds include those from the following loose categories. You don't need to figure out the exact category when creating the bond unless it helps you define it. You don't need to figure out the category. Okay. So these are just aids that we're going to read to think of things. Belief. You have a sentiment or ideology that helps define your relationship with the world. You might be an anarchist, a royalist, or think a higher power has a plan for you. Examples. Communism is a scourge to be wiped out of the world. Communism is the inevitable fate of humanity, and I must hasten its rise. The throne must be protected to all, but the throne must be forbidden to all but the prophesied true king. They played with fire there for a second, but then they inverted it, and they're like, it could be either one. I don't know. I'm not saying. Eccentricity. You're driven to act unusually in some situations due to a variation in your personality. You might have a phobia, or you might dress to shock people, whatever it is. It's a part of who you are. Deep-seated variations in gender and sexuality or belonging to a minority culture aren't eccentric, however. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for putting that there. I wonder if there's a place it does belong, or if they're just saying like, nah. That's good, because you don't want to draw the association between gender, sexuality, and eccentricity, because what that does is it reinforces the norms. It reinforces the status quo. It reinforces the systems that are in place, and you don't need to add into that. So, very, very interesting that they wrote that. All right. Example. How will people know they're defeated unless I tell them my plan? So if you have a penchant to monologue, that could be an eccentricity. I must leave a calling card at the site of my crimes. Nothing should ever get in the way of a good meal, not even violence. Material. An object or place such as an heirloom, estate, cursed object, or something else of note attracts your attention. You might be determined to master the family sword, or you fear the cursed mansion you inherited. Examples. The ring is my burden to bear. The zone of darkness provides strange blessings to those who walk it with respect. Someday, I'll understand all the functions of the machine that fell from the sky. Organization. Your fate is bound to that of an organization such as a cult, country, conspiracy, professional organization, or even a group of hobbyists. Marines, oorah. I'll make any sacrifice to destroy the cult of the yellow sign, or family above all. Relationship. You have a strong positive, negative, or mixed feelings about an individual. This can be a fellow PC, but only with the player's permission. They said this in Wardens as well. And probably Blue Rose 2e. If it's an NPC, you should work with the GM to develop some basic details about who they are. Examples. I can't stand Mac, but damn it if I don't respect them. My love for Indra is stronger than any hardship. I'm going to kill Mal if it's the last thing I do. Okay, here we go. Talent, training, natural ability, and perhaps a little obsession have influenced your skill set beyond what your abilities defined. For games where you're converting from classic age, these can take the place of listed talents at the GM's discretion, though they still function like bonds. So they gathered a lot into one umbrella of bonds here. And what you have then is you have abilities that define your capabilities, let's say. And then you have bonds, which they can capture parts of who you are, what's important to you, what you're working on. They're bonds, but they're also kind of embedded opportunities for story arcs as well. I'm not sure if I said that as well as I wished I had, but I'll have to chew on it some more. But here's the rank and rating examples. Rank 1, lingering feelings towards an old flame. Rank 3, devotion to one's ancestral home, perhaps to the point of violently defending it. Rank 5, you'll kill or die for the flag, without a second thought, regardless of the law. So, I do like that they give examples in all of their ratings of things. Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Assigning bonds. After creating bonds, assign them ranks by choosing one of the following spreads. Oh. Why not? It only takes one paragraph. Why not? I like that. You know, you might look at this and say, well, this is just needless crunch. This might be some of what Malcolm was referring to about putting in some more crunch, because you don't need this at all. You could just say, do this. But he's like, hey, well, let's give you some choices. Hypothetically, if he added this, let's give you some choices. Each bond begins with points equal to its rank, which you can spend each game's session. The details can be found in using bonds. The bond ratings table defines their intensity by rank. Yes, I do recall this briefly from 2E, but I think I got too excited about other things that it kind of fell out of my head. So they are a usable resource as you adventure, explore, have your social encounters, such as they may be. So you either have a 1, a 2, and a 3. You have 3 2s or 2 3s. They all perfectly match or are factors of 6, like the die. Oh, I can't point in the right direction. Nope. There's a d6 right there. Yeah. 6 is a good number for that reason. Oh, I didn't read this. The humble staff is my weapon of choice. Grappling. Long have I studied demonology in the forbidden libraries of the West. I make big machines sing where they once grumbled. I like that. That's a good line. Necromancer. I eat sword fighters for breakfast. Step 3, list fortune. I love fortune. You start with 20 fortune. This is the amount of success in one or more actions required to overcome you. See conflict and being overcome. But you can also spend it, making yourself more vulnerable to affect dice rolls. Fortune is effectively a limited script immunity characters enjoy and represents luck, determination, and other ephemeral protective factors that apply to the mind, body, and emotions. Note that this is an expansion of what Fortune can do compared to iterations in games like The Expanse, where it was usually used to ward off physical dangers. Okay, so I believe it was Jim Jonesy in one of the chats was explaining that this is where Fortune came from The Expanse, but they took it and they have expanded it to be more broad here, and I am loving it because it is all of these things. It's luck, determination. It's other things that I've said it is. It functions like stress mechanics do. It functions like resistance mechanics do. It functions like so many things because getting to play with the dice and determine when or if you trigger stunts and determine, what the final value is of the drama die, which affects your degree of success or failure. It's a beautiful soup, and I love it. You lose, spend, and recover fortune, but you can never recover more fortune than your maximum score, though that can be raised through gaining levels as described in character development. I don't know if this is the case in Wardens of the Blue Rose, because we only have a quick start. The impression I got was that it was 20 for everybody. It stayed at 20, and I kind of liked that. It kind of reminded me in a way of Astro Prisma. There's absolutely no leveling up in Astro Prisma. You just, by cyber tech and gear and new parts for your ship, and you have 20 health throughout the whole thing because you're just a person. You can get armor that can reduce damage to your HP, but you just have 20. All your crew have 20. Everybody's 20. And it preserves tension really well in Astro Prisma anyway, which, by the way, if you followed along with Astro Prisma, the store is now open. Astro Prisma is available to the masses if you want to pick that up. Finishing touches. The players and GM work together to determine character equipment, wealth, and connections with one another. In addition, you should describe your PC's public personality, appearance, and recent history. You may also wish to figure out their family ties and deeper histories, but it's okay to save those for when they come up in a game, or even give the GM permission to decide them as surprise twists in play. Now, this surprises me because equipment seems like it should have its own section here, and maybe it will. Does it? It does. Okay. So I'm not going to worry about that. Wealth is presumably, we'll find out, going to be talked about in equipment, and connections with each other. So this is not bonds. They can be, but this is like, well, why are you all in the same group? Why are you all in the same party? Welcome back, Daddies. Welcome back. I'm just being as slow as I usually am and going off on side tangents as I am wont to do. So my initial concern here was that this looked like it was abbreviating things that it should be saying right here in the steps, but they might come later. So that's it. You make some abilities that are freeform. You assign an array to them, 4, 2, 2, -2. You make some bonds in one of 3 different arrays. You choose those. That's what your character cares about or are tied into or hate. And it says list fortune, but it's like this whole step is just write 20 in a box. And then figure out equipment, wealth, and connections. And that's a whole character. That's it. There's no feats. There's no nothing. So it is pretty lean. All right. Moving on. What's the sense so far? It's hold on. Come on, chat. Update. Clear. Click. What's the sense so far? Yeah, good. I mean, I've preferred the experience I had reading Wardens, of course, because it was tied into a setting and themes. And so there's a lot of places here, as you would expect, because it's a generic rule system, where it's like, make these decisions based on the theme and the tone you want to go for. It's like, okay, well, if you're making a custom game from scratch, of course, what else is it going to say? But it's reinforcing the simplicity that I enjoyed seeing in Wardens, and it did answer for us how abilities are created, which we suspected when we were looking at Wardens, that they were just kind of you just pick whatever, and it says you'll recognize this, Thaddeus. It says avoid make abilities too broad or too narrow. It's very much that same language that you see in your Mist likes. So. It's entirely ad hoc, and then I went on a little rant briefly. I'll summarize it here. That you give your abilities an array. You have a 4, 2 2s, a -2, and a 0. And the 0 is literally anything else that's not written on your sheet. And I was thinking about, how do I put this? This is my second go at it. The fact that the fortune system allows you to change your die rolls by paying is what allows this to work, in my opinion, because everything else you're rolling, you have a 0, so you're at average. Maybe you invoke some bonds, maybe you don't, whatever. But your average die result is going to be 10.5. The average DC is 11, so you're at a 50-50 unless you pump something into it. And having that universal resource management tool of the fortune is, in my mind, what allows your abilities to be this concise. And so I think it's a neat way to do it. It's like, it just seems elegant. So, we're on to doing things. Here's how you determine, hey, look, my chat just refreshed with 100 things. Late to the party. Welcome. Always welcome to the party. The way this is laid out makes me feel like I'm reading Rain by Greg Stoltz. Did not read Rain. But I know you read all of the things. Coming here just to say that V-neck is looking great today. Thank you. I felt kind of thrown together today, so I appreciate that. It makes for a really competent character, yeah. Hello, by the way. First things first, your shirt looks great. You look great. Second things second. Hello. yeah, so we've just been going through the rules here. It's a pretty lightweight, good generic system. So we're going to see what else jumps out at us as we wrap it up. But this is only 16 pages of rules, and we're already on page 7, which is about average for me. 7 pages in 50 minutes. Here's how you determine success or failure in Sage when it isn't obvious. Because if it is, you don't need to determine it. You just do it. Or it wouldn't be more fun to come to an agreement between the players and GM about what happens instead of rolling dice. Now, this we saw in Blue Rose 2E, the age system, and we saw it in Wardens, I believe. And it made a lot of sense there. But I haven't read these other age games, so I didn't know if that was a universal sentiment or if that's something that they brought in for enhancing the themes. It seems like it is a more universal sentiment about age, and it is called the Adventure Game Engine, so it might have more leanings towards the cinematic narrative than I realized as a broad engine. So, time in Sage consists of narrative time. This is the same as I think the same as all the age stuff. This consists of narrative time, or time in the setting, faster-paced action time, which is your combats or conflicts rather, measured in rounds, and scenes, the time it takes to resolve a conflict or section of the story. I know, that's why I say it. There's a reason nobody blinked at you saying I tend to overthink things. Yeah. Do I overthink them, though, or do I think them just the right amount? It's overthink, isn't it? Don't answer. We love a slow, conscious reading of RPGs. I sure hope so, because I keep doing it and people keep showing up, so I have no reason to stop now. When your character does something and there's a question as to whether or not they might succeed, right? Again, rules tell you when to roll dice. You test your character's ability, roll 3d6, add the numbers. We know how this all works. You may add only one ability bonus to the roll. Compare the result against a target number. Use the difficulty table for guidance. You guys are killing me. Killing me softly. So here you go. This is nice. This base chance column. I did not see this in either of the Blue Rose, so that's nice. Add ability rating 0. So there you have it again. You know, if you're not adding anything and your average abilities are 10.5, you're going for your 50-50. But yeah, the dice resolve on a curve, and I haven't really looked into the curves of 3d6 too much. I know the curve of 2d6 pretty well, but I gotta formulate a cube in my mind and think about all the axes that have 6s. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Yeah. All my people in the chat. My greetings will get longer as you accumulate subscribers. Oh my gosh. I had to update this. Oh, wait. Does that say 105 now? When did that happen? Okay, cool. We're at 105 now. That's neat. I just think it's neat. Drama die. One of the dice in the 3d6 roll should be differentiated. This is the drama die. We know how that works. I probably should explain it in case somebody's only watching this and didn't watch the Wardens of the Blue Rose. Okay, so this is the drama die. It has certain specific effects. On a regular test, the drama die determines a test's outcome, which is a keyword that is kind of like power in Legend in the Mist, actually. I don't know why I didn't make that connection last week, but it clicked now. While the test measures whether you succeed or not, outcome measures how well you succeed or how badly you failed. That's right. On a failure, the higher the drama die, the worse the failure. There is a problem with this that I identified. Oh, no, hello, clicking on hyperlinks. There is a problem with this that I identified when reading Wardens, because you can use fortune to modify the results of the dice, right? And you can do that to the drama die as well. And so you pay in fortune what you want the die to have on its face. So if you rolled a 5 on the drama die and you want to bump it up to a 6, it costs 6. you gotta really want that 6. Which, unless the GM's like, really, like, if you go to a 6, I'll give you this extra thing. You know, they'd have to decide as they go. Kind of like setting position and effect in a Forged in the Dark game. But here's the problem. The potential problem. If you want to do well, you need to pay more and more and more and more. If you fail, it costs you less to just drop your drama die down to 1. It only costs 1 fortune to make the face into a 1. And I think that really takes a lot of the teeth out of failures. So I think I would invert that. I think I would make it so that on a failure, lower is worse. I know that like makes it so you have to consider two different axes. If it's a success, you want a high number. If it's a failure, you still want a high number. Basically, a higher number is better for player is the paradigm that I would use, because that way you don't find yourself in a position where you're like, oh, I failed, but my drama die is a 6. Guess I'll spend 1 fortune and like make the failure as little as possible. I just think that's too exploitable. But it would make for a much softer difficulty curve, if you want to call it that. So I would consider inverting it. I really would. That's what I'm thinking. Anyhow, optional rules. Partial abilities. Oh, this is new. If the table agrees to this optional rule, you may ask the GM to allow you to use an ability that only partly applies to a test, but you only get half the bonus rounded down. Oh. Thus, the character who used Mining 4 previously to inspect a tunnel might gain half of their ability when judging the quality of cut gems. I might have presented this differently, and I'm not sure. Rather than calling it a partial ability, I might call it like, I don't know why I tried to do that live, but whatever. I feel like there's a different name I would give to this that did more explanation in the name itself, because this could mean so many things. Partial abilities, huh? Yeah. I would just keep the sensibility, but just make you pay to move the drama die number either way. Well, that's the thing, though, is you don't pay for the amount that you're shifting it. You pay for the face that you want to turn up. Because initially I thought it was that too, and then I was like, oh, that's fine. But it's you pay to get the number you want to show up on the die. If you're at a 3 and you want a 4, it costs 4. If you're at a 1 and you want a 4, it costs 4. If you're at a 6 and you want a 4, it costs 4. So you could probably do a variant where you pay to move the die as well. And I wonder what that would feel like differently. But anyway. Partial abilities equals augmenting for BRP. Kind of, but no, because it's not. You're not then rolling a secondary ability. You're just saying like, hey, this is somewhat related. Can I get at least half my bonus? I might even just call it like half bonuses or something like that. Like I'd be like, mining doesn't really apply. It's kind of like that broad sense of I mean, let's be real. Actually, in this exact example, if you had mining 4, I would just let you use mining 4 to examine cut gems. I'd be like, this game is all about abstracting your abilities to the broadest, that they can be, not too broad, right? But I would probably just let you do the +4. So I would say if there's an example that's like, well, I have mining 4, so therefore, and you come up with something that's a little like wilder, it's kind of like, no, but I'll let you have half of your bonus. So I don't know. I would probably give them the full bonus for this, because it's that kind of game. Well, we have what, 3 options now. We have rules as raw. We have invert the failure drama die, and we have move the die by value, and then option 4 is make your own. Oh. So they combine augmenting into a single roll? I don't hate that. Maybe I do hate that. I don't know. I don't know. I need to get back to M-Space one of these days and study it. But I've had so many fun and enjoyable things to do on this channel. It's like, geez, how am I going to get to looking at a dusty old BRP game? Contested roles. If your character is doing something contested by another character or by a dynamic force, the GM feels would be similarly challenging. Both characters roll, and the higher total wins. On a tie, the highest drama die wins, and then if they both tie, followed by the highest ability used, followed by flipping a coin, or declaring actions are simultaneous so that no result can prevent another. Long tasks. Some tasks require multiple tests to complete. The most notable include tasks to overcome you, such as by defeating you in a sword fight, but there are numerous other possibilities. If the task is to overcome another character, you succeed by reducing their fortune to 0. which fortune is their health and their resource management and everything. Each successful test to act against the opponent, reduces their fortune by the successful test's outcome plus any modifiers. If the task is to overcome another problem, you must reduce its threshold to 0. Threshold is like fortune, but for inanimate or otherwise less dynamic opposition, it's usually set from 6 to 30. This is neat too, because you think of this like the lock-picking examples in so many games, right? Like, how do you actually make lock-picking fun in RPGs? You either have a binary pass-fail, it's like you picked it or you didn't, or you have something like Pathfinder 2 where there's more complex locks and it requires a certain number of successes, but you're not rolling a die pool. You're rolling them one at a time. So then you're sitting here like, fail, success, fail, success, and everybody's like twiddling their thumbs like, okay, do we get in the door or not? And then all the GM advice in the world is like, oh no, you see, because for every failure, the fictional circumstances changes it, and it increases the chances of anything happening, like a guard coming around the corner, or a guard coming around the corner, or a guard coming around the corner. Like, how many ways can you put in a fictional consequence that's actually tied to your speed of picking the lock, unless you go off camera and you have off camera consequences? And it's like, are we even playing the same game anymore? It sounds like we're playing Forged in the Dark. All of that to say in that rant that this is basically like you could give the lock basically an HP. It's a fortune, but it's not, so they call it a threshold because it can't go up or down, it can't be spent, and you're basically just trying to overcome it. You can try to overcome it, they can try to overcome it, and you know the progress that you're making towards it. And yeah, maybe this would be another set of rolls in the same way, but this is for everything, not just locks. It's climbing a wall, it's squeezing through a small tunnel to try and get into a darker part of a dungeon or something. So yeah, it is interesting though, because outcome, I believe outcome is the result on the drama die itself plus modifiers. So you roll 3d6 and you add your modifiers, and that's your result. But then you look at the drama die plus your modifiers, and that's your outcome. And because of the fortune mechanic that they added, which I love so much, you can pay to increase your outcome. So it's cool, and I like it. And I need a chart here, though, because I don't think they have, unless this is the same as the TN chart, which it could be, but 21 was nigh impossible in the TN chart, so that can't be right. Anyway, one more chart, please. So augmenting here would be like your skill is like 50, and then you have a secondary skill that is 30. Then when augmenting, you roll against 50 plus 6 rather than rolling twice. Yeah, but the augmenting is combining two things, and this is just, this one, wherever it was, this is just saying like you get less of your full ability than you would because you're trying to munchkin something, basically. So it's a similar style, but this always was one ability. It's one ability. Not modifying anything. It's just saying, nah, you don't get the full value, because you only have 3 abilities in the positive anyway. So yes, like a challenge HP is a good way to put it, because everything is the fortune and threshold, everything is HP, because it's abstracting all of that into narrative result. I just mixed resolve and result. I meant to say result. So if your character gets like a really sick burn insult at a party, that diminishes their fortune, which is their HP as well. So like insulting somebody and hitting them with a sword are the same thing, and people might go like, what? My simulation. And to them I would say, you're looking at the wrong game. It's okay, just go play these games over here. This is doing something different, and it does not need to change for you. Okay. Optional rule hits. This confused me in Wardens. Let's see how it's written here. If you use this optional rule, minor NPCs have hits instead of fortune. Hits work just like fortune in that attacks to overcome minor NPCs reduce it, but NPCs can't use hits to alter dice rolls. Now, why is that any different than threshold? I don't know. There might be some small interaction in the rules where they felt like that was necessary, but the basic premise is fortune can be spent, threshold cannot be spent, hits cannot be spent. So these I don't understand. So if anybody smarter than me is in chat, let me know. I don't get it. But at least it doesn't take up a bunch of the page. Affecting rolls with fortune. This is where it gets so good. You may replace the number on one of the dice you rolled with a number equal to the number of fortune points you spend. For example, if you roll a 6, a 3, and a 1, you can spend 3 fortune if you have it to change. Also, look at that art. That's so cool. To change the 1 die to a 3. If you do this, you treat the die as if it naturally landed on that number with the roll. Thus, if rolling a match on 2 or more dice matters to a roll, you can guarantee it if you have the fortune and are willing to spend it. You can do this to affect the drama die, but the cost is 2 fortune per point of the replacement die result. So I forgot about this. This was in Wardens as well. So if you rolled a 6 on a drama die and it's a failure, and you're like, well, I want to spend fortune to make that a 1 on the die so that the consequence isn't as bad, it does cost double. It costs 2. So that's a clean enough way to do that. I don't mind that one bit, especially because if you're doing physical dice, it's supposed to physically look like a different color. Note that you can spend fortune to make a die result lower as well as higher. If a lower number would result in a match, this may be desirable. So yeah, if you have a 2 and a 3, you could up the 2 to a 3 by paying 3, or you could reduce the 3 to a 2 by paying 2. So, like, I think that's fun. I just think that's fun. Hey, Jonesy, how you doing? We're back at it. Jonesy, do you know, I just went on a rant about this. Do you know why hits and threshold are meaningfully different? I can't figure it out. I cannot figure it out. But let me know. Because my takeaway from this is that they can't be spent like fortune, which is fine. I get it. This is for inanimate stuff. This is for inanimate stuff. But, like, is that really enough of a difference to have hits be their own thing? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. Or is it that hits are always 20, like PCs, and that's why thresholds can be variable? I don't know. Anyway, if you know, let me know. And I'll ask in the Discord later. By default, you can spend more fortune to change the results of 2 or even all 3 dice on your roll, but you may want to restrict this if it seems to make success too easy. And I said in the Wardens stream that I would probably limit it to a single die, because I just feel that makes it more tense. It makes the results of the die as they land more exciting. If you know you can change all of them, if you can just spend it, and you're at the very end of a thing, and you're like, well, I got 15 fortune, so pretty much whatever, just throw the dice. It is what it is. I'm just going to make it be what I want. Then it lowers some of the tension there. So I would probably limit it to just changing 1 die. That's my initial thought. I've never seen it in play, though, so take that with a grain of salt. Example, Megan rolls 3, 4, and then 2 on the drama die. She spends 4 fortune to change the 3 result to a 4 to get matching 4s. Why would she do this? It's because then she gets stunt points. She could have spent 3 fortune instead to change the 4 to a 3, which gets her matching 3s for a lower cost, but a lower total, which means she would only get 3 stunt points. She could have also gotten matching 3s by spending 6 fortune to change the drama die to a 3, 2 fortune per point, which also improves outcome. So then she would have 3 stunt points, and her outcome would go up to 3. Wait, yes, right? 3 plus the modifiers on the roll. Threshold is sort of advanced test that can happen over a series of tests. Yeah. But an NPC with hits is also something that you're going to whittle away at over a series of tests, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being dense. That's okay. I get 1 dense moment a day, and this is it. So cross your fingers. We got a little ways to go still. Stunts are special effects that you can use to augment a test. A stunt might be a heroic feat, a special move, a stroke of luck, or the results of insights you gain in the heat of the action. The prime rule for any stunt is that it must make sense in the story, from the source of the stunt points to what you use it for. I like that. For instance, SP from matches on a slick spinning kick won't apply to a stunt to protect you from occult forces. Stunts have a cost in stunt points. If a test might lead to more dramatically interesting effects, you can generate SP in 2 ways. If 2 or more numbers on the dice match for a test, including if it's because you spent fortune to change the results, or you generate SP equal to the number on the drama die for that roll. Wait a second. Oh, that was okay. Reading comprehension. It just happened on a page break. That's why. There we go. You can also gain SP by using bonds. See using bonds for details about what they do. You must spend any SP you gain immediately or lose them. Can't spend them on the same stunt more than once per occasion. Some rules determine when you can generate or spend them, etc., etc. Yes. Now, Jonesy was telling us last stream as well that this is the full stunt list. which is much abbreviated. And in a way, each stunt has a little bit more variability on how it may be applied. But these are cool. I like them. You can spend 1 to 3 on an assist. And as long as I love that assist is rolled into stunt points, because stunt points can be generated if you spend a fortune. It all ties together. I just really like it. You don't have a separate entire to assist, use a minor action and then give up one of your reactions, and it's just like, oh my god. You just pay for it. It has to make narrative sense, but you pay for it right here with your stunt points that go away immediately anyway, and you help your ally do another thing. Grants a bonus equal to the SP you spent on one of their next tests if it relates to your action and takes place before the end of the next round, which also is going to be in their modifiers, which is also going to improve their outcome. So it's not just about whether they succeed, it's about how well they succeed, how far they advance in the threshold, how much they do to hits of an NPC. It's cool. It's cool. I don't know what else to tell you. It bumps up their average, so when they have their ability at 4 and 2 and 2, but they're doing something that they're just average at, this gets them out of that 50-50, It's cool. Brace, reduce the outcome of one action affecting you before your next turn. It has to be used, in a way that makes sense. Quick act. These are I think, exactly the ones that were in Wardens of the Blue Rose, to the letter, I believe. Second wind, you regain 1d6 fortune, but you can't use this stunt again during the scene. So there is a way to regain fortune, which is cool. I like them. But again, I'm trying not to read this all word for word because this is for purchase. Anyhow, each stunt has a separate cost. Yes, we get that. Some can be used with a defense roll. In those cases, whether it can work with a success or failure is the same as for using the stunt with other actions. So you can have rolls where you're actually rolling to defend. I don't remember exactly how or when that comes up, but I'm sure we could figure it out. Note that this is different from standard age game system games, where success is usually required. That's right. Jonesy told us this too. So in age, you have to succeed in order to generate stunt points on doubles or through bonds. Here, it's saying you can do that on a failure because there are stunts that can be used when you fail. And they have these traits, these tags. And if this is your whole list, I feel like you could memorize this list after a little bit of play. You're going to know which ones are which and what you can do, because you don't have a list of 30 feats to juggle for every character. So this is what you learn, not your crazy character sheet. So I think it's neat. While it may seem paradoxical that the worst failures provide the most SP on doubles, this is intentional. Okay, all right, okay. Sage is designed for dramatic turnarounds. Okay, what does this do for us with my drama die problem? You can fail on a... How do I want to say this? You can fail a TN 14, which is it's above average, with a 6 on the drama die, a 6 on a normal die, and a 1 on another die. So you get a result of 13 against 14. And let's presume that you don't spend 2 fortune to make it a success. I would. Spend 2 fortune to bump the 1 to a 2. But you have a failure now, and you have double 6s. So you get 6 stunt points. But also the drama die being a 6, the way it's currently written, means it's an extremely bad failure. So it really does put you in this place of how are we going to parse this out and make it make sense? But yeah, and then on the flip side, the way it's written now is you can say, well, I'm going to spend 2 fortune to drop the drama die 6 down to a 1 because I'm going to fail anyway. I mean, don't do this, just pay for the success. But let's say, hypothetically, you did. I'm going to drop this down to a 1. My failure is going to be way less severe, and I'm going to get 1 stunt point. So there's so many different ways to play with the dice that I think is just really fun. All right, Thaddeus' work is done, so I'll catch this on the VOD. Hope the settings have some interesting tweaks to align with the themes and genre. Yeah, we're going to peek at some of what's been swapped in and out, but we're not going to look too closely at them because, that's the primary content, the IP content, I guess you would call it. So I don't want to just give the farm away. All right, let's read this because it's lengthy, so let's see. Sean attacks with a withering insult against a threatening bouncer using their +4 acid wit ability and scores 18, rolling 4, 6, and 4 on the drama die. Roll dice matches provide the drama die value in SP, in this case 4. The bouncer only scores 11, so this was a post roll. In addition to taking 4 fortune damage from the outcome, Sean uses the 4 SP they gained to take the defend stunt, applying it to hand-to-hand attacks. The GM asks how it makes sense in the story, and Sean says the insult makes the bouncer act with rash clumsiness. Sean has 1 SP left and spends it on an assist to fellow PC Jeff, giving him a +1 bonus to use when the bouncer swings. Sean needs physical backup. Yeah, that all kind of tracks. It all makes sense. That's what you want it to do. Conflict. When 2 or more characters compete or struggle, they've started a conflict. They might be debates, hacking contests, brutal knife fights, or ship-to-ship combat in outer space. Conflicts occur in action time, so they use rounds. We do have an initiative here. Roll 3d6, highest to lowest, optional initiative tag. If the GM and players agree to this optional rule, after you finish your turn to act, you may tag another character regardless of their initiative score. However, the GM may allow NPCs and other elements they can control to act out of initiative order as well, though they should limit themselves to acting once between each PC turn. Each character must tag a new character as they proceed, effectively choosing their own order of actions. However, the last character to be tagged becomes the first character to act in the next round. This may allow the last acting character to act twice in a row, which is perfectly fine and can be used tactically if you like. This shakes up the flow of initiative by making it a little more narrative. I don't think I would use this. I don't know. I'd have to see it in play, because there's quite a bit of stipulation on it. So you have an order, but the order really kind of determines if and when you're going to invoke tagging. Because it says you may tag another character. But then it also says each character must tag a new character as they proceed. I think the must is modifying the fact that it must be a new character. You can't go back and tag somebody that's already gone in the round. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting in the way that it gets them around having to have delay mechanics and all the other, bugaboos that come along with initiative. And it kind of fits in the themes of like fortune and modifying die results and everything that goes along with it. But I almost would be interested to see if instead of this tagging system, if you could modify your initiative result with fortune, because that would give fortune another use, which is another temptation for the PCs to spend it down. I think that I would almost prefer that, because then you have your rolls and you see the results and you see the turn order, and then you could say, okay, well, I'm going to spend 2 fortune to bump myself up so that I act before this other thing. I don't know, it's just a thought. Okay, here we go. Hits get reduced when they take damage. Threshold remains static and must be reached to succeed. Oh, so it's about the direction. Okay. All right. Threshold remains static. Must be reached. I mean, yeah, but in a way, isn't everybody else's threshold just 0 then? And you're reaching 0? I don't know. Like I said, Jonesy, this is my dense moment for the day. That is what it is. All right, actions. You can take the following actions in a conflict. Defending isn't an action and doesn't use them up. So we've definitely seen all of this. Oh wait, hold on. I don't know if we did see this in Wardens, come to think of it. Or my memory's failing me. Act. You may take an action that isn't directly pursuing the conflict. This is a normal test. Attack. You're going to attack, and is this going to be an opposed roll? Not necessarily physical. Contested roll, yeah. Each of you should be using abilities that apply. If you don't have it, it's 0. Yes. Guard. You don't act, attack, or take other action, but you get a +2 to defense rolls. Because defense rolls themselves are not an action, as it says. Defending is not an action. Hold fast. You don't attack, act, or take any other action, but the next opponent who tries to use stunts against you before your next turn must spend 2 SP before spending SP on those stunts. I don't know how I feel about that one, because the enemy that's coming at you is going to have to roll doubles to even get SP, unless enemies have bonds as well. Maybe some special ones do. but you're banking your turn on them rolling doubles, and then you're just increasing the cost to 2. So if they got double 1s, you would nerf them. If they got double 2s, you would nerf them. They wouldn't be able to do anything to you. If they got double 3s, they'd only be able to spend 1 point. So yeah, it's a debuff on their stunt points. But it could be a total miss if they just don't generate stunt points. So I don't know. It's interesting. There might be a tactical time where you're like, I really need them to not do this particular stunt against me, and so I will hold my turn so that my allies can finish this off. Stunt action. You will try to affect an opponent or other target with a stunt. If you're affecting a foe, make a contested roll as described under attack. Otherwise, use the rules to act. If you succeed, instead of any other result, you gain 2 SP. Oh. Okay. Well, that answers that. If you get matches, you gain 2 SP or as many SP as the result on the drama die, whichever is higher. So you can hold fast as a counter for stunt action. Gosh, this is cool because this is combat maneuvers in like your 3.5s and everything like that, but everything had to have this prescriptive, trip and whatever. But this is just saying like, hey, just cut the line straight to the stunt results. If you succeed, you don't do outcome, but you just go straight to the stunt results. You're going to get bonus 2 SP. And then if somebody held fast, then they've negated your bonus 2 SP, but you were able to do it without having to roll doubles. Or if you didn't roll doubles, actually, you'd only have 2. They would negate you entirely. Yeah, this is interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think this was written in Wardens. Don't think so. Yield. You forfeit the conflict, but get to decide how you lose within bounds set by the GM in group play. Yeah, I remember this from Blue Rose 2e. All right, defending. You can make a contested roll to defend against any number of attacks. If you use the guard action, you get a +2 to the defense until your next turn. Yes, we've seen that. They don't generate stunt points on matches, but you can spend SP from bonds or SP generated by attacks and other actions if the stunt has the defense requirement in the stunts table. Okay, SP from bonds I get. SP generated by attacks and other actions. Right. Okay, right. I remember this now. Okay, because if you go up to the stunt list and it has a defense tag, it's kind of like readying a defense action. You interfere with an opponent imposing a penalty equal to half the SP you spent on your foe's next test. So when you do the defense roll, let's say you had 6 and you have a defense roll because an enemy is using a thing against you, you put 6, so they have a penalty of 3 SP. Sorry, they have a -3 penalty to their next test period. So it has the defense tag. It technically happens when you defend. So you're kind of casting that stunt into the future. I think. Maybe I'm misreading that. Because it would probably make sense to apply it just right then. I don't know. It'll all hash out in play. When it's your turn to act, you roll a test using one ability to actively pursue the conflict. You're the attacker, while your opponent, the defender, rolls a test with an ability that would block or hinder your efforts. So the whole combat conflict system is contested rolls, by and large. And you can kind of like posture around each other with different abilities, but it's largely that. Outcome and damage. Conflicts continue until belligerents stop them by overcoming their foes, by one side yielding to another, or when another circumstance interrupts the fight. When attack succeeds, it inflicts damage by reducing defender's fortune by an amount equal to the outcome generated by the roll, which is usually equal to the drama die plus modifiers for equipment, stunts, and other special circumstances. I forgot that equipment comes into play here. When this drops the defender's fortune to 0, they have overcome the defender. This means that they decide what happens to the defender based on the attacks they used, their capabilities, the defender's characteristics, and the GM's judgment. In combat, you might decide that a foe you overcame dies by your hands, is knocked out, captured, or even beaten to the point of being utterly intimidated. In the social conflict, overcoming a foe means their will to resist what you want has been cut down to nothing, leaving them humiliated and cowed, or perhaps utterly charmed and unable to naysay you. So overcoming can be applied very broadly. Enduring damage. Oh. If you use this optional rule, you may endure damage if you have an ability that would allow you to especially resist the form of injury or other adverse effect an attack represents. You may reduce its outcome by that ability. So it's damage reduction, kind of. Note that this cannot just be an ability indicating expertise in that area of conflict, but an ability to specifically absorb punishment. Seems pretty narrow, but Therefore, your Sword Saint ability can't be used to endure, but your Tough ability can. Silver Tongue can't endure social attacks, but Composure can. That makes sense. These are great examples. Example: Brian shoots Soldier 7, a PC combat robot, inflicting 6 damage. Soldier 7 endures the damage by their chassis ability of 4, leaving 2 damage to reduce the robot's fortune. That's kind of like they're walking around with status tags. And again, I keep going back to Legend in the Mist, where you're getting a penalty to the action you're trying to take that interfaces with that ability, and that tracks. That makes sense. So that's kind of cool. I could see using that. Effects without being overcome. Stunts, along with various technologies, powers, and other circumstances, can impose effects without having to burn through the opponent's fortune and overcome them. These are often represented by conditions described later in this section. The GM and players ultimately decide which threats can bypass fortune this way. Yielding, we read about that. Conditions, here we go. A persistent effect caused by the following. Being overcome allows a foe or the GM to impose a condition on you. Yielding may allow you to select a condition to represent your loss, but which is not as bad as what you might suffer by being overcome. Stunts that impose them, such as minor disadvantage and major disadvantage. Other effects that don't require the target to be overcome. Conditions are either minor or major, representing more significant. I think this was in Wardens. Minor conditions impose a -1 or -2 penalty. Yeah, these were definitely in Wardens. Yeah, minors -1 or 2, and majors -3, right? Yeah, major impose a -3 or greater penalty to perform certain tasks or have an equivalent other effect. So these function like harm tags in certain Powered by the Apocalypse Forged games, and conditions in dozens of other games. Anyway, that's just what it makes me think of. Yeah, deafened, intoxicated, nauseous, blinded, dominated, poisoned. Sure. When a condition has a possible range, more severe, lasts for briefer periods. Yeah, we read this in Wardens too. And I was saying then that one of my thoughts is that you could step these down. So it might be a minor condition that is a -2, but then over time it fades down to a -1, and then before it fully falls off to a 0. But this is saying if it's minor and it's a -2, it's more severe, but it goes away completely faster. So you just play with that as the GM, whichever makes most sense to you. Conditions with no clear endpoint usually resolve through rest or story events as determined by the GM and players. However, you can impose a permanent condition on a foe you've overcome. You may adapt conditions from other age games, assigning them minor or major status at your discretion. I feel like there's a nice little flowchart that I'd like to make for this rule set, because you can really capture this all in a pretty tight little package, I think. But it might be easy to kind of forget that these conditions are here if you just go with it. You overcame them and move on. Recovery. All right, recovering fortune. At the end of a scene, each character recovers 1d6. They recover all of it after enjoying rest comparable to that of a full night's sleep. Yeah, this was the same wording in Wardens as well. And I said, good on you for not specifying 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever. Or after a scene where they roleplay one of their bonds without invoking it for a game advantage. I don't think you have to roleplay the bonds to invoke a game advantage anyway. So it kind of seems like that's its own, you're either roleplaying it, and here you're recovering fortune, or you're saying like, yeah, I'm spending this bond in the middle of a fight. It's not necessarily like a role-playing moment. You're just invoking it, that it exists. So, recovering bonds. Bond points recover in full at the beginning of a new game session, and recover from conditions. That's about narrative resolution. Okay. Pretty much most all of this was in Wardens. There are some things that I didn't see in Wardens, or they were there and I forgot. Which is where it doesn't hurt to read it again. All right, now equipment I don't think was in there at all. So I'm just going to scroll ahead and see what we're working with here. Okay, all right, interesting. Equipment, special powers, and other such advantages can perform many tasks whose parameters are set by negotiation between players and the GM, but in many cases these provide one and in some cases more of the following benefits. equipment, special powers, other such advantages. Okay, bonus outcome. Some equipment or special circumstances add bonus outcome when performing certain tasks. A pistol or long knife might provide plus 1d6 outcome to combative conflicts. Wow. Feels like a lot. Items that add plus 3d6 or more are either extremely rare, require special training, or have some other restriction, at least when used for personal reasons. Yeah, that tracks. That's a big swing. Resist outcomes. Some gear or advantages reduce the outcome of unwanted effects aimed at you. For instance, body armor can reduce outcome from a physical attack. This is a set reduction ranging from 1 to rarely more than 10. Yeah, I would think so. If outcome is the drama die plus modifiers, plus equipment, plus this, plus that, plus whatever, then like reducing by 10 is huge. You're almost invincible. If you use the enduring damage optional rule, this stacks with that damage reduction. Wow. Yeah, that should be extremely rare then to see a 10. Test bonus. Some things provide bonuses to certain tests, usually plus 1 to plus 3. This can be the mark of a high-quality weapon, a shield bonus to parry incoming attacks, or virtually any test that can be practically assisted in the setting. Makes sense. These advantages need not always be physical equipment. A special power or environmental circumstance may provide them, with the details worked out by negotiation between players and the GM. Fair enough. Bonds have a number of fluctuating points equal to their rank, so a rank 3 bond has 3 points available to spend. You recover them at the beginning of each session. When an action supports your bond, such as by trying to defend someone you have a bond with based on love, or cowering for mercy when a bond based on fear is aroused by what it says frightens you, you may spend bond points to enhance it. You may spend 1 or more points, but only from 1 bond at a time. Now, when the action supports your bond, I think I'm reading this as it supports the idea of the bond, whether it's bringing you towards or away from it, if it's you protecting it or if it's you invoking it for a moment of strength. But maybe it's supposed to be more restrictive. I don't know. Each point you spend generates 1 SP and 1 point of fortune, or 2 points of fortune, your choice. And this was in Wardens as well. Of course it was. If you gain enough fortune to exceed your maximum, you must either spend it immediately or lose it. As usual, you must spend SP immediately. Character development. After your character has had multiple successful adventures, you can improve and change them by gaining levels. I don't think this was in Wardens because as the quick start, you didn't gain a level. So I don't think they included this. The number of adventures needed to gain a level depends on whether you want to run a short, medium, or long series of adventures, as noted on the character levels table. Note that you can't save improvements across multiple levels. You must use them as soon as they come. Improving and changing. You can add +2 to an ability, or you can take a new ability with a rating of 2. Right on. You can also reduce an existing positive ability by 2 and add +2 to another ability. Hey! Or you can take a new ability with a rating of 2. I wonder why that wasn't its own bullet point. This could have been its own bullet point, maybe? You can add 2 to an ability. You could take a new ability with a rating of 2, or you can reduce an existing one by 2 and add +2 to another. Oh, I see. Nope, I see it. I get it now. Got it. Yep. Sorry, the reading comprehension is finally clicking. This whole block is optional. You are going to do this. Well, hold on. Yeah, okay. You are going to do this. You're going to add +2 or get a new thing at +2. That's your choices. Then on top of that, you can reduce 1 by 2 to do this again, basically. So you could end up with 2 new abilities of rating 2, or you can just pump up the other ones. So yeah, that's going to help hugely with outcome as you start to get, bring your 4 to a 6, to an 8, to a 10. All right, here's a... Oh, there's limits. Very good. Okay, I was wondering about that. So they're gated. And so, yeah, short version would be 3 sessions per level. Medium, it accelerates from there. And then long, it really, really ramps up. And then you're gated to these. So level 10 plus. I guess this doesn't need to have a level cap, does it? You could just get to level 50 if you wanted. We'll see. However, to increase ability, you must also reach the minimum level indicated in the ability limit. This at level 3, you can increase an ability rated at 4 to 6, but at level 4, you can't increase it again until level 8. It has to wait till level 6. Yep. The degree to which you improve fortune depends on how grim or freewheeling the adventures and world will be. Gritty games are ones where conflict is dangerous, much like the real world. Pulpy take place in a slightly exaggerated reality where heroes aren't bulletproof or inhumanly stoic, but can stand a few socks to the jaw, or the shock of betrayal. Not the shock of betrayal. Cinematic games feature heroes capable of high action and operatic drama. Here you go. Okay, so there are options for how you do fortune. Cool. So I wonder if the full Wardens will have these options, or if they're going to say, no, it's Wardens. So this one, I guess? Cinematic? I don't know. So you either never gain it, you gain 2 per level, or you gain 4 per level. Gotcha. Optional rule for bonus fortune. If you prefer, you may add the lowest ability. This was in Wardens 2. The lowest ability higher than 2 to your fortune at each level. This rewards balanced progression. If your lowest ability over 0 increases, apply it retroactively to prior levels. My brain can't process what this would look like. I get it. I understand the procedure, but I'm thinking strategically as you're building a character. I don't know how this rewards balanced progression, because you would want, I guess it does in the sense of you want your abilities to go up together, but it discourages you from going wide, because every time you add a new one at +2, you're now reducing your fortune because you're more versatile. So maybe that's the trade-off. Maybe that's intentional. I don't know. It's all right. Improving and changing bonds. At each level, you may add a new rank 1 bond or improve the rank of an existing bond by 1 to a maximum of 5. And recall, you start with an array. You either have a 1, 2, 3, 3 2s, or 2 3s. Optionally, you can reduce an existing bond rank by 1 and either add 1 to the rank of an existing bond or take a new rank 1 bond. So this mirrors how the abilities worked. If for some reason a bond no longer applies, you may swap its ranks for the equivalent in other bonds agreed upon by you and the GM. Neat. Very neat. So there we go. That is the rules overview. I'm going to come back over here for a minute because I'm going to take a break, and then we are going to very loosely skim through some of these settings that are in this double feature magazine, because we don't want to give away the settings. It is a product that Green Ronin put together with artists and art and all the work that they put into it. So, but I do want to look and pay special attention to where modules or elements have been swapped in or out, things that they've highlighted, things that they've pulled back from to match genre expectations. So that's what we're going to do here in a little bit. I will be back shortly, and then we'll probably run it through till about 11 my time, so another half hour. We'll wrap up there, I think. And yeah. I'm enjoying looking at Sage. I'd really like to play it sometime. But I still have that open invitation to get the Wardens of the Blue Rose Kickstart running on our server. So I'll ping everybody again about that, see if we can find a time. Now that we did successfully find a GM for our Friday game. So I'm going to be busy on Fridays now. But I do sometimes still have Tuesdays. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get a group together for that. I'll be back in a little bit. Chat amongst yourselves if you're so inclined. And I'll see you soon. All right, we're back. We are back. Is anyone attending Gen Con? Not me. I don't know the next time I'll be able to do any attending of things. Hopefully sooner than later. But are you guys doing some big stuff there? Because you're going to have... Wardens is kickstarting now. Anyway, curious why you're bringing it up. Planning some stuff? Good old Gen Con. Yeah, I have not been to any gaming convention, actually. Believe it or not. It's not a thing I have done, but someday that would be good. So, we are back. I'm going to look at the bookmarks here. We've got Guardians of the Key, The Half Moon Department, Zarat Adventures, and Transmigration. Again, I'm going to have a very light touch on this as it relates to the creative work that went into creating these settings. We will oogle the art a little bit. But what we want to look for, and so we're just going to kind of scroll through here. 70 events and a Blue Rose LARP. Dang. There are some LARPers in these chats here. 70 events, wow. I mean, I guess you guys, it's not like you guys are a small publisher. You're kind of the real deal. Okay, so we're more setting. Setting is great. We like setting. This is not about not liking this. This is about not giving it away. Because look at all the words. Like, this is not insignificant. Like, you guys put together a really, really nice package for this magazine. But we want to get to... Okay, common abilities. Here we go. Okay, so this is where they're implicitly showing us, how do you take this Sage baseline engine and turn it into a setting. And so what I already know about this is they're like, hey, suggest some abilities that would be common in your world. Okay, so we're going to look at these. Select abilities as per Sage core rules. Guardians must have a positive rating in at least one Guardian ability. The following abilities are common in a Guardians of the Key game. Guardians have the following abilities because the keys only choose individuals with these qualities, and the keys in turn harness them. Non-Guardians can take them, and to become a Guardian, one must possess a positive rating in at least one of them. All right. So, what have we got? We got Compassion. This ability comes up when Guardians interact with other sapient species on a personal, emotional level. If a task affirms a being's own agency and rights, use Compassion. Compassion can be used if the Guardian needs to stop an opponent without harming them. Blood Void agents use Indoctrination instead, commanding keys to bend wills to autocracy doctrine. There's some sort of interesting Guardian versus Blood Void stuff going on here. Courage. Use courage when performing direct actions, etc. So, again, this is where you can use abilities to do your world building for you. Not for you, but to enhance it and highlight it. So we know, for example, that Guardians are courageous because this is one of your abilities you can choose. Self-sacrifice, Justice. Okay, so those are Guardian abilities specifically because you are prescribed that you have to have at least a positive rating in one to be a Guardian. Then there are others that also tell you about this setting. Here's a list. Academics, criminal lore, culture, engineering, espionage, infotech, etc., etc., etc. Lots of good ideas. Think of the fields of knowledge characters would have to devise more. In addition, fields requiring knowledge of the existence of aliens and the autocracy include autocracy lore, council lore, key lore, xenoculture, xenoscience lore, and xenotech. I wonder... I'll have to think this through. I wonder if Sage could do the Lambda Act as its base engine. I wonder if it does the things that I would want to see. I'm very intrigued by this. Typical bonds. Bonds with the autocracy. Oh, these are categories. Okay, bloodshed to the stars. Oh, with bloodshed to the stars is the motto. Okay, got it. I'm slow. Life is a zero-sum game. We'll win. Belief. Earth deserves to rule the stars. Belief. Special forces. Talent. Spectre operations. Talent. So these are great suggestions. So if you're building... Okay, this is like Girl by Moonlight has the base game, and then it has its series playbooks. This product, this particular issue of the magazine gives you the rules, the base rules, and then it's like, here are some setting series playsets. And what we've seen already is it's going to give you some suggestions for abilities. It's going to give you some suggestions for bonds. And even then, you don't even have to use any of those. except for the one you're required to use from the Guardian abilities. Belief or talent, eccentricity, material talent, yeah. So good things there. Then you're going to have technology. So this is going to modify basically how equipment works. So it's asking you to think about how equipment is going to work in your setting. Space or texture signs of wear, repair, jury-rigged workarounds, grimy, whether due to lubricants or the various substances used to fight accidental vacuum welding, radiation and other common complications. Terra Tech, Council Tech. So there's definitely, space to create setting within how you do equipment. Fragile Tech. Stunt, okay. So you can add stunts as you might like. Very kind of Fate in that way as well. Target loses access to a piece of technology for the scene. So the item itself has that quality. Interesting. So you can use that against enemies that have equipment with this, what is it called? Quality. Or they could use it against you. So that just goes to reinforce, the level of tech. Autocracy tech. Okay, the keys. Now what is this? Because we didn't read the setting information. Legends say that at the dawn of creation, mere chance created the first intelligent beings, the nebulars, coherent energy patterns in superheated gas. They networked their thoughts and across aeons decided to tweak certain conditions to allow other life to arrive. They gave birth to the stars that warm so many species and the keys given to guardians selected from the first of their children to guard life itself. Okay, and we saw on the key art there that the woman literally had like a glowing key superpowered thing, something like that. So each key has the following powers. Those with an asterisk can be multiplexed. So this is basically saying like, hey, we've bolted on this entire concept of these keys in this lore, and here's how the mechanics of them are gonna work. Okay, let me parse this. Your keys are intelligent. They have personalities. Huh. They never discuss prior users or ancient times. Taking this once allows you to use the function as a simultaneous power selection, and multiplexing allows you to use several simultaneously. Following powers are available. So these are kind of like, almost like equipment-based classes. Is that what we're getting here? Each key has the following powers. So they're like power sets. Gravitic Flight, String Blast, String Field. Or do they all do all of this? It would make sense if we read it like top to bottom, but like I said, we're not going to do that. Warp Travel. This stuff sounds really cool. Mastering the key. As a guardian, you may employ any key power, but only one power at a time per level. Thus, a level 1 guardian who flies into space needs a vac suit to continue, but a level 2 guardian can employ both gravitic flight and survival. Okay, there you go. So the keys have all of those powers, but you can only employ as many of them as you have levels. So there you go. It's tied to leveling. Every even-numbered level, you may select a power that you can use more than once by multiplexing, if it can be used that way. Think of it as having a hand of powers like cards, where each power is a different suit. Multiplexing allows you to build a hand with multiple uses of the same power. This is cool. You're taking 2 degrees of String Blast. Okay, again, this would make a lot more sense if we read it top to bottom. But the point is how to modify the Sage engine itself, Sage system rather, and you can have this entire bolt-on kind of thing with it. There's specific stunts to it. Aura, you can extend String Field, Survival, or both to others without using a power selection. Each power costs 1 SP to use on an individual or 2 SP to use on a small ship or equivalent. Blaze, you can use an additional power simultaneously and multiplex 1 degree more in one of the powers than usual until the end of the next turn. So this is a pretty crunchy, little subsystem that's been bolted on, but it's neat. And like they said in the intro, they've spent time with Age asking, like, how can we add more systems, more complexity? And Sage was the result of saying, well, what can we strip back away? And then, in a way, they've almost made it so that you can, not really, but kind of approach an Age-like complexity, but, like, on your own, like guerrilla, like indie style. Like, build your own little key system like this is done, and turn it into something bigger. It's cool. Guardian stunts, scaling. Okay. Scaling is a new concept here. Any standard target with fortune affected by an epic attack or other threat takes normal damage, but when overcome can be obliterated. So they are either standard scale or epic scale, like large spacecraft. Yeah. So basically, yeah. You can just get wiped out by like a giant spaceship, basically. But if a standard target has hits instead of fortune, a successful epic attack instantly overcomes it, bypassing any number of hits. So that's kind of like a minion rule, kind of tucked in there. So this is where now I see how if you delineate something as having hits instead of being a threshold, even though I'm not getting it, if you denote it as having hits, you can now trigger off separate rules effects. So that is useful in giving you like a different tag or trait to like key off of for other abilities. So I can see that now. Otherwise, standard damage can't affect epic targets unless an attacker or circumstance strikes a vulnerable spot. Yeah. So scaling, I mean, scaling shows up in many different games. Scaling shows up in really a lot in the Sea of Stars mech series playset of Girl by Moonlight, where there's like, you know, the protagonists who can transcend. They're the magical girl powers, basically. They can transcend, but then them plus their mechs is like another whole level, and then there's like Leviathan level threats and all that. It jumps up and down as you go, so it's very interesting. Cool. And then we've got stories and adventures, just hooks and things like that. Denizens, so they've got spacecraft. And the spacecraft have abilities. Okay, so that's cool. Spacecraft are like their own little character. Hits or fortune 10. Special. Pilot usually possesses the bond Ruthless Fighter Ace 2 or higher. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Look at this. Close defense batteries 6. Extended range weapons 4. Power plant 8. That's interesting. It'd be interesting to think of like how to use all of these in play. But 60 hits or fortune. Yeah, that's a big boy. That is a big boy. Man, this is really cool. For, you know, just being in this magazine. Like, geez. You guys really did a good job soliciting these. Or writing them within the team, whichever it was. Very cool. Yeah, you could absolutely grab this magazine and play. Very cool. I know I'm just like scrolling and saying like, oh, this is neat over and over again, but like that's what we're here for. Okay. So there was Guardians of the Key. Sci-fi game. Added in these key powers. A lot of organizations, factions, setting. Added in spaceships to the base game. So that's what we've seen so far. Now we'll see briefly what the Half Moon Department does. Demon fighting kind of stuff looks like. Mysteries between 3 realms. In the Half Moon Department, you play Half Moon agents, detectives, scholars, bodyguards, and spellslingers who fall in between 2 or more intersections of the supernatural world with the mortal one. The time, technology, and period are up to the game master and group. The Half Moon might serve a secret supernatural society or be well known in a world where humans and other mortals regularly interact with spiritual forces. You can play the Half Moon Department in any mode. A couple of these raiders are working on Wardens. Awesome. Very good. You can tell that they put a lot into it. So Yeah, this is your like blurred. Yeah, this seems like a really cool setting already. I mean, it's a cool genre. I don't know what you call this genre. I should know, but it's escaping me. But like, that paranormal world overlapping with our own, and only the chosen people can see it and fight back against it. It's very cool. So let's see what they did mechanically. And if you want to read this, get it yourself. Okay, we've got aspects here. I don't know what that is. So we've got courts of the hidden realm, lords, all sorts of stuff. Aspects, huh? These are going to come into play. I can feel it. Limits of contact. Shades cannot physically interact with spirits or mortals on their realms. This is all stuff you need to know for the setting. This is really neat, though. Like I'm getting good vibes even just from skimming this quickly with my eyeballs. Oh, this is interesting. Now we're talking about something brand new. Alignment. Not in the D&D sense. Because of the influence of the three authorities on a half-moon's multifaceted nature, your character must divide 4 points between at least 2 alignments from among mortal, shade, and spirit. Alignment represents your roots in multiple states of being. Alignment is neither positive nor negative. It's just a fact of your complex origins, whether a fluke of reincarnation made you both mortal and shade, your parents were a shade and a spirit, or your ancestor was divine ruler half-spirit who died and reincarnated as you, giving you a triple nature, though of course you are always more than your origins. The half-moon department's setting is about how multifaceted, complex identities color the way characters interact with the world and how it responds to them. I love that. That's really cool. I'm definitely going to have to read into this on my own. This setting looks awesome. When the GM feels an action has affinity with one of your alignments, add its rating to related test rolls. Cool. If something contradicts, penalize it by the same rating. Nice. Okay, so now we've got common abilities again, just like Guardians of the Key. A consumption ability. Okay. They gain fortune equal to outcome from consuming an exceptional example of sustenance aligned to their nature or magic. That's so cool. They include mortal consumption, magically enhanced food and medicine, shade consumption, consuming special offerings and other things attuned to the underworld offices, spirit consumption, distinctive essences that give you power, sorceress consumption, consume from magical sources. Okay, now you have sorcery abilities, suggestions again. So these really take the broadness of Sage and then they narrow it in on your experience in a way that a PBTA game might give you specific moves to choose from, which is going to guide the story. This is saying like, hey, these are the things that you're going to be doing in this setting anyway, so take these abilities. They're going to be relevant. Like when Dean eats pie. I briefly know about this, but I don't know. Oh, the consumption? Yeah. Yeah. I suppose so. One of these days, Kalana. One of these days. Mystic War Arts. 3 Realm Senses. This looks like a really cool setting. Holy crap. Like it's a shame that it's like tucked in here to this magazine and not like out in print stuff. The last one as well. Very cool stuff. Other abilities. Yeah. Okay, so again, taking the base game and how do you make a game out of the base game is saying like, think about your abilities, think about your bonds. Here's the bonds again. And so if we see this in all 4, then we'll know that was like an editorial, like, hey, put these in here. I keep thinking again about these people as freelancers, and they're probably some of them, if not all of them, on the team themselves. So it's probably was all discussed at a big round table somewhere. So there's your bond suggestions. You've got gear again, so now we're talking equipment. So far it seems like the 3 biggest axes that you're going to have to put your hand into the game are going to be abilities, bonds, equipment, gear, whatever you want to call it, and then lastly, whatever super fancy thing you want to plug in on top. So far this one had the alignments. The last one had the keys, and then the spaceships as well. Okay, so we got some gear here. Enemies and allies. There's profiles for kind of bestiary style kind of things. Spirits with abilities and fortune. Right, okay. So yeah, hits here, they cannot use stunt points. They cannot generate or use stunt points. Fortune, they can. So that's the difference there. Cool. There you have it. There's what was it called? Half Moon Agency thing? The Half Moon Department. They were freelancers. Wow. Good for them. Good for you guys. Good for everybody. That's really cool. Zarat Adventures. I love this art. Super cool. In the shadow of fire and ash. Zarat Adventures is designed to work as a standalone setting and a region which you can integrate into an existing fantasy campaign. A barren region with hardy inhabitants, Zarat is social fantasy. I've never seen that phrase before. It seems chaotic, but relationships and customs, not laws and formal hierarchies, bind their society together. It's another way of living without recourse to fortress-bound warlords, parliaments, or the other expected trappings of authority. Huh. Cool. I'm sure this is more common in certain other cultural traditions, and I'm just, tragically Western. Characters from afar aren't the only people who bring such foreign values to the land. However, as fire sorceress, Dana Resair enacts a plan of manipulation, colonization, and destruction. Okay, again, we're not giving away the farm here. We just want to see what they did. We've got settlements, which makes sense because places need to exist. Blood taking seems mechanical. I don't know that it is here yet. You don't call something blood taking without giving it mechanics, do you? Proper being. Writing is reserved for philosophy and poetry. This is cool. This conveys so much already. These are going to be fun to read. Scourge of Dana Resair. Oath binding. That sounds like a thing to do as well. Cult of Resair. Explore the following features and scenarios or use them to inspire your own. Now this might be... Okay. So far... This is really just saying, like, here's a setting for you. Use the rules as they are. Here's, again, going to be your suggestions on common abilities. Common bonds. Spellcasting factors. So we got sorcery going on. But we also have magic in Wardens, So there's going to be some of this there, too. Factors, huh? Fortune +2 area. Not sure what this all means yet, but we're interested to see it. Spellcasting procedure. Okay, wait. Here we go. Sorcery, Arcana. Free sorcerers teach a standard curriculum that suffices as framework. These include Ashfire, Beasts, Blood, Earthstone, Leaves, Sandglass, Shadow Summoning Word. It's an ability and a talent bond of the same name. Spellcasting doesn't require the ability, but does require the talent bond. Each arcana is an enormous number of spells that sorcerers invoke, adjust, and combine, so spellcasting is a creative form, not the rote use of a specific effect. That's cool. Yeah, some very freeform spellcasting, bending, whatever you want to call it. To cast a spell. So we got a spellcasting system module plugged into this one, is the point. Check if you have arcana bonds that cover the spell you want to cast. Spend 2 fortune, make a test. So you're spending your fortune to cast. Is this +2? I think it is. So this is your power scaling. And as long as you, let's say, have the ability to do basic, specific, or complex manifestations of these spells, this will tell you how long an effect can last. A scene, 2 scenes, or 2 rounds, the distance that they can have, the area. Not sure what they mean by this, if they're actually gridding this one out or not, but we'll find out. Maybe. Successful basic spell affects one target within 10 yards instantly, or for 1 round based on the outcome it generates. So there's, yeah, basically you can plug in a whole spellcasting thing, which makes sense. And you can use fortune. Here we go. Here's the explanation. The additional cost in fortune to cast a spell because of the listed factor. Oh. Yeah, this is definitely a game where you want to allow for fortune to go above 20. Okay, so that's cool. So these are modifiers. At base level, you're going to spend 2 fortune to do a spell at all. And then if you want to increase them, then you can do that. All right. Okay. I'm just going to love anything that plugs into the fortune system because I think it's so great. Area is the number of targets or an equivalent area. Conditions are exclusions, basic conditions of the spell. Oh, people other than me. When I say the magic word. Specific conditions. When a person wearing a yellow gemstone walks by, or this doesn't affect anyone saying the magic word. Complex. A blonde Rasairi of the Falcad clan, or when they are sad or angry. Non-material considerations. That's a neat way to do spellcasting triggers. And you just pay in fortune for the level of effect you want to create. That's cool. Distance. Spells that affect targets more than 10 yards away require this factor. Treasures, so we're into equipment now. Enemies and allies. There you have it. And the final one, transmigration. It's kind of a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. All right, let's get to it. Pride Beyond Armageddon. Transmigration is a horror setting. That transitions characters across the apocalypse. I'm not big into horror, but we'll see. You play the part of an ordinary person who is willingly or not participating in the near extinction of the human race and the end of civilization. An evolutionary shift has touched you. Most humans affected by the change either die in agony or mutate into something monstrous and mindless, but you're still yourself. You can still pass as human, at least to begin with, but as time goes on and the majority who aren't so fortunate realize that their days are numbered, you'll try to survive as the rest of the human race realizes its fate and tries to destroy the next stage of life on planet Earth. You don't get a choice. Whatever you do, most of the human race dies and the survivors live as something different. First, you'll have to endure assaults from warring colonies and the hate and fear of the humans who aren't going to be so lucky. This is reminding me of a game called Don't Look Outside or Look Outside. I don't know. Some of my friends were playing it. It's kind of has that vibe to it. Not generally my thing, so we might go through this one faster than the others because, I am who I am. I want to see mechanically what they do. There's probably going to be some sort of corruption, stuff like that. The trees are starting to walk. I mean, this could be really neat. I do like horror for their ideas. So when a new horror movie comes out and I see a trailer for it, willingly or not, I'm kind of like, I kind of want to know what's going on with that. And so after the movie comes out, I go to Wikipedia and I read the plot of the horror movie. And I go, neat. I'm glad I didn't have to experience any of the feelings that they wanted to make me feel because I'm not down for it. But I'm always very interested. It's just I don't want to live through it. Creating a character. Ordinary civilian. You gain an additional ability called Dormancy at a rating of 4. This is a bonus ability. Doesn't take away from others. You can choose to increase it instead of another. You have access to an ability called Communion, which you can use to communicate with other spore beings. If you don't take it, your rating remains 0, but you can use it and the dormancy abilities, and people who aren't transmigrated or touched by the spore can't. Okay. This will make, again, this is like the first one. This would all make a lot more sense if we actually read the thing. You don't need to breathe, although you tend to do so anyway from muscle memory. Weird. If you're in a vacuum, you're in danger of going dormant. For the first hour, you're in cold or airless conditions. Test an appropriate endurance-aiding ability. You can receive the sluggish condition. So this is like your transformation state. It's triggered by cold or airless conditions. Makes me think this stuff came from space. You hibernate unconscious and unable to act until your body comes into contact with water. Your body shrivels and dies. Appearing mummy-like, you can survive indefinitely and are nearly indestructible. You can endure damage with your dormancy ability except against fire. There's health rules, venom rules. Is this... Okay, are these different... These different styles of transformation, maybe? This is all happening for you at once. You have a link with everything. Okay, here we go. LGBTQIA plus Wrath Month. If you're thinking that this all seems like a heavy metaphor for the survival of queer, neurodivergent, and disabled people in a hostile world, you'd be right. This setting was written out of sadness, rage, and a desire to tear everything down, but also a recognition that a torn-down world isn't going to look like a world we know for good or ill. Heavy topics. Not light. So now we've got some enemies. We've got some stunts that enemies can use. Special stunts. Counterinsurgent. Eventually the human race will fight back. This paramilitary scientific operative's mission is to research and destroy the spore. They are intelligent and sensitive, but if you're transmigrated, about as possible to reason with as a spore person. The irony of that is lost on them. That one is definitely trying to say a lot. Good gracious. It seems interesting, though. Let's see. Converting back and forth. You've seen the system and perused the settings. How can I convert age to sage? Here's how it won't be exact, but it can work within the limits. All right. There are inherent limitations, but creatively you can fill in the gaps. Levels carry over to age. Sage abilities equate to ability plus focus totals in age games. It means you can use listed sage abilities as is when making age tests, as long as the GM feels it would be equivalent to an applicable ability plus focus. To convert sage to age, use your best judgment, find an equivalent age ability and focus pair. That seems pretty straightforward. They gain the equivalent focus and the equivalent ability -2, but treat numbers lower than 0 as 0. When converting age to sage, I think, this is here for you if you need it. I don't know that I'll be converting anything because Blue Rose is going to exist in both, so I could just use whichever one I want. But I wonder what else. In Sage, a talent is a type of bond. Yes. Novice is worth 2, Expert is 4, Master is 5. Oh, got it. Okay, because talents are different in age. Got it. Yeah, point being, this is going to guide you through it. I don't have enough age knowledge to parse most of this in the first place. Fortune converts directly to age, fortune, or health. Except for they're going to be modified by a constitution score and other things. Okay. Converting to sage, you just use the fortune that you're supposed to have. Makes sense. Relationship bonds are 1-to-1. Talent bonds are the exceptions. Right. Sage is a more abstract system than Age, and this reflects in how their game systems differ. Use the same TNs between games. Sage tests generate outcome, which is the same as Age degrees of success. When outcome is required, this is equivalent to the accumulated degrees of success required for a test. If it would require multiple tests, this is equivalent to an Age system advanced or challenge test. Right. Fill in gaps using your best judgment. Sage affects through outcome, which we've seen. In Age, this is by weapon instead. To convert a weapon to Sage, use your judgment. That's right! I did see that in Blue Rose 2E. I see now. Yeah. So outcome is an abstraction of that. Because you do it however you do it in the fiction, but the number is what comes up on the die. as your outcome. Use the stunts of whichever game you're playing and mix it up. As close cousins, they can repurpose ideas from one to the other, and we've done it. We went through a full thing on Discovery Court, which we've done before, but not word for word, because that's not what it's about. Anyhow, I'm very interested. I've maintained my interest in Wardens of the Blue Rose. I'm interested in Sage as a baseline system regardless, and some of the settings in what we just looked at seem like really cool and flavorful. So something I'll have to definitely look at and see if they grab me. But like I was saying, I'm going to try and get the Wardens of the Blue Rose quick start going on our server, which is a great point to mention the London Station server. It's all mentioned down in the bottom corner down there. I do have a Patreon set up that gets you access to the Discord. There is a $3 tier. It gets you pretty much everything you could really need. There's a couple little perks and bonuses above that, but you don't need those. Usually that's just people that want to support at a higher level, which thank you, by the way. Appreciate it. There's also a $1 tier that was only supposed to give you access to one channel, so you could still kind of like be there and chat and stuff. And I had it set up right, and then somewhere along the way I changed something, and now it's functionally the same as the $3 tier, but I'm not going to take it away from y'all. Because if you need the budget tier, use the budget tier, that's fine. But you can come hang out with us, people like me and those you've seen in chat today who like these sorts of narrative games about feelings, emotions, all that stuff. And also, your more traditional stuff. We've got a big contingent of people that played Pathfinder 2nd edition and so on and so forth. So it's a great community. Feel free to jump in and join there. If you survived this long through the VOD, if you're catching this later, wow. Congratulations. You did it. I am trying to get better at asking people to leave comments in the description down below, because there are apparently now 105 subscribers, and I feel like I don't know most of you, and that makes me sad. That makes me sad inside. So I want to know what you're into, what you like, what you enjoyed about the stream, what questions you have, what was your favorite part that you saw. Now, for my next level up, I'm going to start saying this at the beginning instead of the end so that people actually see it. But for what it's worth, do leave a comment or a question or anything of that sort if you're so inspired. It helps for discoverability too, but whatever. We're going at the pace of the London Station people, and we're getting the right people on board, so it's all good. But yeah, do that. Do the liking and the whatever. As far as I need to actually talk to you guys. Oh, the subscriber thing just went up to 106. Did I get an alert in the middle of the stream and miss it? Whatever. I have my alerts on. The audio bar's on. Whatever. So we're at 106 now. Anyway, I was going to say I need to figure out what to put in this box, because I don't really 100 was a cool milestone, but I don't need to track every increment of 10. I don't need to do that, and YouTube doesn't care until we hit 500. So I either need to put something else in there, or I need to redo my overlays, because that's where my super chats were going to go. But you don't unlock super chats until you have 500 subscribers. So whatever. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about redesigning the overlays, maybe just giving them a little crisping up. These are already the second version. I went through a whole version before I even launched the channel, and then I made them even better. But there's work to be done there. With that all said, I should pull up a tab here and see if my buddies are streaming, because, like I always say, we're not on Twitch, but I've made a lot of friends who are, and it's nice to raid out to them. If you'd be so kind to just at least hop over with me and say, hi, hello, it's a London raid, that would be cool. Now, this is someone that some of you know. This is my friend Hime Otsugi, who played an Astro Prisma playthrough back in the day. They're going to look at starting up a new one soon. They've also been a game designer. They're working on a solo RPG that I may play on the channel called Ballads of Dawn. They are doing a week-long super event thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a lot. But they are a cool and good friend who make cool content. They're in our community as well. So we're going to go support Hime Otsugi, if you'd be so kind as to come over. And you can just say hi and then leave. It's called the Raid and Run. They expect it. It's totally fine. With that said, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Saturday afternoon. And I will be back tomorrow with, I believe, a London Hour tabletop stream about flaws in characters, flaws in fireworks. So if you're interested in jumping in on that conversation, I'd love to have you then. Finally, with that said, think I've exhausted all of my rambling. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again on London Station. Love you all. Have a great day.